Hi, my name is Celia Kano with Marine Technology TV, and today I'm here with David Koweek, Chief Scientist at Ocean Visions. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Just to get us started, can you share a little bit about your career history and then also your current role?
Yeah, well, it's really great to be here and to join you, Celia. Thanks for the invite. I am trained as an oceanographer, so I have a career spent going around the world making oceanographic measurements and trying to understand how ocean ecosystems are responding to climate change. I did that for a long time and slowly found that what I became more and more interested in was not just documenting how ocean ecosystems were changing, but actually thinking about contributing to developing solutions to make these systems more resilient to the onslaught of changes that we were witnessing. And so I joined Ocean Visions about 6 years ago, where I lead the science and technical work. I'm responsible for making sure that everything that we do is based upon the best available science, and that Ocean Visions, as a nonprofit ocean conservation organization, is also contributing to advancing that frontier of knowledge as we seek innovative solutions to help preserve critical marine ecosystems and stabilize the climate.
Fantastic. Well, I want to talk a little bit today about the En-ROADS Climate Solution Simulator. So, you can talk a little bit about what that is and then what gap was it created to fill?
Yeah, so the En-ROADS Climate Solution Simulator is a product produced and maintained by the organization Climate Interactive, and it is designed to help a global audience of climate solutionists and decision makers understand the possibilities and trade-offs between various climate solutions in a way that's really interactive and easily accessible. A lot of the work that's gone into trying to understand complex trade-offs for climate solutions before involves really complex models that are hard to use. And so the advantage of the advantage of En-ROADS is that it makes it really accessible and very easy. You don't need a computer programming background, as an example, to be able to use the model and to see the results instantaneously.
Amazing. And can you talk a little bit about, the science that's gone into developing the simulator as well as, your role in all of this?
Yeah, so Ocean Visions approached Climate Interactive a little more than a year ago because we were really interested in trying to work with Climate Interactive to include some of the leading solutions for marine carbon dioxide removal within their suite of climate solutions featured in the climate simulator. And the reason for that is that there's been incredible advances in the research and development of marine carbon dioxide removal solutions. And it's important that they make it onto the same level footing as other climate solutions so that you can think about a portfolio of climate solutions and be able to make apples to apples comparisons across those different potential solutions. And so we were really, as I said, we were really interested in seeing marine carbon dioxide removal featured on this platform. We approached Climate Interactive. That led to a partnership that's been really fruitful and just culminated in the release of this new module to the En-ROADS Climate Simulator that features ocean alkalinity enhancement, one of the leading pathways for marine carbon dioxide removal now in the simulator. And that has been a really great partnership. It's involved just a lot of collaboration, a lot of work together to identify and synthesize the best available science, and then also a lot of work to really pressure test all the ideas and assumptions in this new module by going out and seeking the expert opinion and review of a lot of independent experts that Ocean Visions and Climate Interactive have worked together to identify and cultivate.
Incredible. And you kind of started to touch on my next question about the collaboration. So as you mentioned, there's a few different entities involved here. Can you talk a little bit about the different groups that are involved in this tool? And then, what is it like being part of that kind of collaboration for something that is understandably so impactful to the industry and to the world as a whole?
Yeah, so let me just touch on that point about impact. Every year Climate Interactive releases an impact report. I think you can go access it on their website. And that was one of the motivations for us about reaching out to Climate Interactive to try to partner together, was just really seeing the incredible reach that they have amongst these global climate solutionists and decision makers, and emphasis on the word global here. They really have extraordinary reach around the world, and any of these climate solutions, when we think about them, they need to have really widespread understanding and acceptability around the world. And so we all collectively have a lot more work to do to increase global understanding about the possibility for various climate technologies, but then also a lot of work to do to figure out how we can maximize the acceptability of these technologies to different people around the world that all have really important and different considerations and concerns about these technologies. Um, so as I mentioned, the En-ROADS Climate Solution Simulator is a product of Climate Interactive. They host it, they maintain it, they build it, they're responsible for all of it. Ocean Visions has expertise in ocean climate technologies, and we have cultivated a lot of work over the last few years to increase global fluency and understanding of ocean climate technologies. And so what we brought was that understanding about how people think about ocean climate technologies, a network of experts that we've been working with over the years to increase understanding and advance the science around these technologies, and a real understanding, I think, also of how we might think about representing these technologies within the En-ROADS simulator. And so again, it's this partnership between Climate Interactive and Ocean Visions that is what made this possible.
Fantastic. And can you talk a little bit about the different features of the simulators? What can it tell us? And then, I know there's a new edition as well. So if you can touch on that, that would be great.
Yeah, so the simulator is a very simplified version of something that we call an integrated assessment model, which seeks to link our economic decisions with climate outcomes. And so this is a tool that scientists have used for a long time to try to understand how changes in our energy system may affect how changes in our energy system that could lead to or not lead to decarbonization affect our climate outcomes, among others. But increasingly, there's this recognition that a climate solutions portfolio has to encompass both pathways to reduce our emissions by changing our energy system, electrifying things, changing our codes around buildings and how much energy they use, as well as carbon removal, because we put so much greenhouse gas pollution into our atmosphere that we now have to develop technologies to remove that legacy carbon pollution to limit warming. These two have to work together. They're complements. They're not substitutes for one another, and they don't compete against one another. But what the simulator allows you to do is to really understand all of the trade-offs across that whole suite of decisions so that you can understand what that might mean for a future economy and what that might mean for our climate. And also, there are some indicators there that can also help you understand what that might mean for ocean health by, for example, looking at what changes to our emissions profile and our carbon removal profiles might do, for instance, to ocean acidification. And so this is a really very accessible tool that helps you understand and instantaneously visualize the trade-offs between various climate solutions.
Inside En-ROADS, the OAE feature models both mineral-based and electrochemical approaches to ocean alkalinity enhancement. Users can adjust the deployment scale and instantly see the projected climate outcome while weighing real-world costs, constraints, and uncertainties. Compare OAE side by side with other carbon removal pathways, test different policy and investment assumptions, and watch the results update in real time.
You mentioned accessibility just now as well as earlier. And can you talk a little bit about what makes this tool so accessible to people and how can, any of our viewers or readership, our audience, how could they go and engage with the simulator if they choose to?
Yeah, well, I mean, the simulator is free and openly available on the Climate Interactive website, and so I think you can just go there and start. You can download it and start instantaneously using it. And I would say also for the more technically minded users, it's really backed up by pretty extensive technical literature that helps you understand and justify all the decisions and the sliders and assumptions that you find within the tool itself. So for those of you who want to deep dive into understanding how certain decisions are there and how different ideas are represented within the model itself, which is another way that we call a simulator, you can go there and read to your heart's content.
Great, that's super cool. Um, so last kind of big question is I just want to look at the decision making aspect. So you mentioned earlier that, part of why Ocean Visions got so engaged was the impact that this could have. And are you able to touch kind of on, how can the data or the simulations from this tool be leveraged for climate mitigation on a larger level?
Yeah, I think this gets back to a point that I brought up slightly just a little bit earlier, which is that emissions reduction and carbon removal need to work together and that they're not substitutes for one another. And you can really see this in the tool. If you try in the tool to increase or maximize carbon removal without changing the emissions profile, you don't get much change, much benefit for the climate. There's not much cooling provided. Simultaneously, if you try to ramp up emissions reduction but leave carbon removal alone, you're also not going to hit temperature targets. But if you start to think about ways that you can couple emissions reduction to carbon removal, then you see these really powerful opportunities to start to bend the curve on global temperature and start to think about ways in which we might help stabilize the climate. And then from my perspective as an ocean scientist and ocean lover, also help to regenerate ocean health.
It's great to see, that these tools can have such a large and, global impact. Just to kind of wrap things up, is there anything we can look forward to follow along, either in terms of the simulator or your work at Ocean Visions?
Yeah, so we're in the earliest days of the rollout of this new module within the simulator. We just went live with it a few weeks ago, and so I'm super interested in tracking very closely to see what kind of impact this is going to have in the world. And I'm sitting there not just passively, but actually trying to make sure that it gets into the hands of all the right people so that it can maximize its impact in the world. And broadly speaking, this kind of work is exactly what we try to do at Ocean Visions, where we're developing knowledge products to help a global community of interested individuals understand and increase their fluency with ocean climate technologies. And so we're doing some work internally to develop a new database around marine carbon dioxide removal technologies that help people understand the full suite of global activities and actors in the space in a way that's really open, accessible, visual, and interactive. So a lot of the same attributes that you see in En-ROADS. And I should say, I anticipate that will come live in the next few months, and we'll be announcing it publicly when it does go live.
Amazing. Well, we will keep an eye out. I mean, it's great to hear of all the work and all the growth that there is with this tool. And I think we talk a lot about marine technology in the ocean and in the water and things like that. But it's great to see how this data can be used in a different way and to really have such a global impact. So, thank you for all the work you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to be here today. It's really exciting.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Just to say, I think this is a real interesting example of how the oceans can um, are not just a victim in the ocean climate story, but actually have the potential to contribute to some of the biggest kinds of solutions that we need to stabilize the climate and regenerate ocean health. So thanks for having me. It's really great to be here and to be able to talk about this collaboration, and I'm excited to see where it leads.